Another episode of All Things Moon with myself, Kelly Jones. And I have decided that it's far better for me to do podcasts every 2 weeks because the pressure of trying to be consistent and doing it every week just doesn't work for my Sagittarius rising personality with Uranus in Gemini, with our thinking minds all over the place. Every 2 weeks seems to work much better for me. So here I am. And in true Sag rising style, I've been having quite a bit of fun and adventures recently. So I went to a beautiful, it was a sober party because it was a new place in Chelmsford called Cornerstone, which is a cafe and an event space that is run by people in recovery, and a wonderful girl called Rebecca. Her Instagram is In Tune with Rebecca, if you want to check her out. She has launched The Feminine Way, and she had a launch party on Friday evening. So I had wonderful conversations with wonderful women. We were slightly disappointed because we thought we would get to dance. So this afternoon, you can see I've got my Girl Put Your Records On t-shirt. You can't see it all. Fully kitted out in my disco earrings and disco outfit. There is live DJ sessions with coffee, no alcohol. So that seems to be the theme of the week, is sober dancing, sober parties, but basically just having fun. So I'm going off to that at 2:00 this afternoon at a relatively new space in Chelmsford called City Space. It's a podcasting studio, it's a photography studio, it's an event space, content creators, things like that. And they're putting on these Sunday afternoon sessions. So I'm really looking forward to going and having a little dance this afternoon to lift up my frequency, because I had every intention of recording this podcast yesterday, but I knew Uranus was entering Gemini into my 7th house, which is the house of intimate relationships. So sadly, yesterday, I spent the whole morning with my partner, Tom, talking about the possibility of us splitting up. It hasn't really happened yet, but the talks have started. So yesterday was very emotional, and he's gone off climbing today, and here I am. So I won't go any more into that story, but as I have been talking about in past few podcasts, if you have been listening, then the situations that arise are no surprise if you are following your own personal astrology and the astrology for the collective. Now, the planets don't make things happen. It's just the way that when they are aligned in certain ways, things are more likely to happen in certain areas of life. So what really following astrology really is to help you be more conscious. Yep. The more conscious you are, the more awakened you are to the likelihoods and the forecasts and the weather forecasts of the planets, basically, then the better you can deal with it. Yeah. So that's really what we're looking for. So a full moon, a blue moon. What is a blue moon? So there is so much, hype and spin out of there, clickbait, all of that, making such a big meal out of the blue moon. So the moon is not blue, but here in the UK, one of our sayings is once in a blue moon. Forgive me, I have got my notes in front of me, because if I don't have them in front of me, I'm never going to get around to talking to you today, just because of yesterday. So basically, a blue moon is when 2 full moons occur in the same month. Yep. So normally we have 1 full moon and 1 new moon in a month. But because if we followed the moon calendar, we would know that there are 13 moon cycles. So once every 2 to 3 years, we get either 2 new moons or 2 full moons in the same month. And that's what this is. So how I look at it is, if a full moon is an opportunity for us to release old patterns, to forgive, to move on, that culmination point, illuminating what it is that we have outgrown, that which is outdated, that's no longer something that we want to take forwards with us, then having 2 full moons in 1 month is a second chance, another chance. Yeah. So what I put out there was for truth seekers and wild spirit dreamers. So what is that all about? So if you think that Sagittarius is the archer, so he aims with his arrow of fire because Sag is a mutable fire sign. Mutable signs are the most flexible, adaptable signs, unlike the fixed signs that struggle with change. So we want to tap into this Sagittarius energy. We want to aim our fire arrow into the sky. We've got the full moon there illuminating what it is that we've outgrown, the beliefs that we are ready to let go of. So the ruling planet of Sagittarius is Jupiter, and Jupiter is to do with our beliefs, basically. So it encompasses things like religion, philosophy, astrology. So what beliefs we are holding on to that are not serving us. The dreamer part of it, we have some Neptune energy in here, which I will get to. So I've got up here reorientation of the story. So we've aimed in a certain direction and then everything has aligned and we find ourselves reorientating onto a better path that we're choosing for ourselves, another chance. Because Jupiter and Sagittarius are very much linked to higher learning, that 9th house subject, then we are basically learning to grow some wisdom. Yep. That which is beyond the fear of the change that we seek, to go onto that different path, to get past those beliefs. It is the wisdom that we are gaining and using that wisdom to guide us. Knowledge is medicine. Yeah. So freedom is very much linked to this full moon. So full moons usually come with endings of some kind, but every ending opens a door for us. Yeah. And this one is really about that higher learning wisdom. So a greater understanding of who we are becoming. And if you listen to me, that is what I am all about. And as I step further into understanding myself and going through that awful 8th house death moment last year. And now I feel like I'm the seedlings that we are seeing growing now outside. I feel like I am coming up into something different, forming something different, but something that is more in line with my truth. And that is what Sag and Jupiter are all about: the truth, authenticity. And Saggies will say it how it is. I am that person that if we're in a restaurant and it's all going wrong and everyone's being polite, I am the person that will point out, we're paying a lot of money for this. I think we need to point it out to them. For me personally, being a Sag rising, so anybody out there who's a Sagittarius rising, this will be pointing at your 1st house. So it will be around your identity, who you are, how you come across to others. Yep. So for me, I've been feeling this rebrand coming on. I've got a new hairdo. I'm feeling like stepping into a new version of myself, a better version. So not changing who I essentially am, becoming more who I essentially am. And that's what I wish for you. In the background here, as I told you, I've been birthing something new and it is arriving. So this week I finally made a decision of which platform I want to use to form a place where we can have community chats, where I can pop some courses on there for you. I have got the initiation course, which I'm not going to reveal just yet what it is, but I'm super excited about it. I've got my own little app being created. At the moment, it doesn't have much content on it. So that's my next job, is to sit and concentrate on putting stuff in there for you and keeping it affordable as well. And there will be an initial offer. So for the founding members who start, it will stay at the same price for you and stuff like that. So that's all what I've been working on in the background, but it is very much about stepping into our wild spirit. Now, that word wild at the moment, quite a few of the planets are what we call out of bounds. So basically, without going into it in too much depth, because that's what you come to my moon ceremonies for, and we dive into all what that really means. If a planet is beyond 23 degrees of a sign, then it is out of bounds of that sign. So we've got quite a few, I think Venus, Mercury, the moon, particularly the moon. And so Jupiter is in Cancer. The ruler of Cancer is the moon. The moon is out of bounds. This is a Sagittarius full moon ruled by Jupiter. But that moon is really in charge here as well. The sun is actually taking a bit of a backseat here because of these out of bound planets. When planets are out of bounds, it means that they don't follow the rules. They can do what they want. So they can go wild with abandon. So, you know, I can tell you some likelihoods of what might happen, but with Uranus in Gemini and all of these alignments, you know, anything is possible, basically, particularly with the optimistic energy of Sag involved here. So this is really highlighting entirely on the direction that we're going in, the story that we're telling, who you are, where you're going. With this blue moon, once in every few years, opportunity to shed a version of yourself that no longer fits. And I walk my talk. That is what I am practicing and what I wish to share with you. And as you can hear, I'm very excited about it. The moon represents the body. Sagittarius is the truth. It's the inner knowing. The moon is to do with our inner intuition in the dark, what we don't see, the unconscious, that felt guidance system inside of us. So getting into our body. Remember, I've been talking about it constantly, about our nervous systems being regulated because the energy of Uranus in Gemini, Pluto in Aquarius, all of this air and fire energy can make us be very static and overthinking minds. So getting into our body, using this water energy that we do have to tap into our intuition is really going to help us have that extra perception, that extra awareness, you know, feeling into our emotions, not just our thoughts. So Sagittarius is teaching us that wisdom does not come from just staying where you are. Yeah, it doesn't come from following the rules. I'm not very good at that. It's gained by getting uncomfortable, taking charge of yourself, going with the flow, following with the wind, taking a risk. And interestingly, in our conversations yesterday about our relationship, that was very much the biggest thing that was in our way of ourselves, was not having the courage to take the risk, to step into the unknown. Our relationship has become the uncomfortable comfort zone. So, yeah. So by 11 o'clock tonight, so I'm in the UK, so that's UK time, 11 o'clock, Mercury is still in Gemini and it's going to form a harmonious sextile to Chiron. Chiron still being at that last few degrees of Aries, at the end of Aries. So it's getting ready to move on from the Aries lessons that we've been learning from Chiron, Chiron being our wounds, the teacher. Yep. Mercury is our communication. And so this is an opportunity to communicate. Yeah. Around our wounds. And it's like another layer of healing insight for us. Aries is courage. So the courage to express yourself, to talk about where you've been wounded, to move on from that. We also have what's called a grand cross, and it's a mutable grand cross. So a grand cross, an alignment between all the mutable signs. Yep. So a mutable grand cross occurs when the planets in Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces are all square and opposite each other. So that creates a tension, but remember that mutable signs are flexible and adaptable. So it's all about learning to adjust and to pivot. Yeah. So it's the energy of change. It's the energy of movement. Get into your body, move, find some flexibility. Yep. The weather here has been so warm. No excuses for feeling rigid and stiff. So each sign in that grand cross is going to basically speak a different truth to us. Yeah. And a grand cross is kind of asking us to balance all four, which is a lot. But basically, we are being stretched. So there is a lot of emphasis on flexibility here, on mutability. We're being stretched. And in that stretching, we grow into that new and better version of ourselves. If we stay where we are, rigid and unmoving, then we will stay uncomfortable. Yeah. So the ruler of this full moon, Jupiter, in its last moments in June. Here we are in June, just on the 30th, what are we on the 31st of May? So we're stepping into June tomorrow. It's the last month of Jupiter being exalted in the sign of Cancer, and Venus is coming up to join Jupiter very soon. So really take advantage of that fully benefic energy. The two benefics in the sign of Cancer, that feminine, sensitive, nurturing, self-loving energy. Yeah. So Jupiter is also the ruler of Pisces. The North Node is there. Jupiter is in Cancer, ruled by the moon. So we've got a lovely mutual reception between the North Node and Jupiter here. Yeah, between the moon and Jupiter. So this strengthens our emotional, intuitive, and our expansive nature. So with that square to Chiron in Aries, highlighting our wounds around our identity, because Aries is all about the self, the me, the I am. Cancer being our emotional vulnerability. We need to explore new beliefs about who we are. Yeah. It can feel very raw. It can feel very triggering, very tender. But this stretching of ourselves out of our comfort zones to grow into a more empowered version of ourselves. And that is what I am all about. Yep. Getting our wild spirit out there instead of feeling like the outsider, fed up for apologizing for our existence. Those of us who have felt like the outsider, those of us who have felt like we've been in some kind of weird exile from the mainstream. Yeah. For us to come together outside of that mainstream room and grow into a new empowered version of ourselves together. So, our wounds are not an obstacle. They are if we let them be, but they are where growth wants, it's where growth can happen is from those wounds. We also have something called Yod, which is also known as the finger of God. So the apex of that is the South Node in Virgo, where we've been having eclipses. And those nodes are going to be moving on at the end of July into the signs of Aquarius and Leo. So these are the last final moments of releasing the karmic patterns to do with Virgo, which is over perfectionism for sure. That gets in my way every time. My moon is in Virgo. So, to give you an example from the relationship point of view, there's a part of me, even though that my conscious mind knows that this is not true, there's a part of me emotionally that feels like I have failed. Yeah, it is. I haven't done it perfectly. I haven't got it right. I failed the exam. That's kind of me. So it's a point of pressure. Yeah, it's ruled by Mercury. Remember, Mercury is out of bounds in Gemini. So it is wild. It can do what it wants, but it is a point of pressure that must be released. Communicating, yep, what we need to release, those old mental patterns. The ones that say to us we have to be perfect before we can start something. So that is why I've just got on with what I want to do this week without it being perfect. And I've got a small group of my lovely moon lovers who are going to beta test this all out for me. So we've also got Neptune in Aries for the next 14 years. That's part of this yod. Pluto is retrograde going back over. Yeah. And Pluto is in Aquarius for the next 20 years. It's currently retrograde, going to be retrograde for 5 months. It's going back over kind of last year, basically. And I have had a moment of resonance, an echo of last year. And if you were listening to me last year, that is not something that I wanted to experience. So where I've been tapping, sort of keep going back to the old version of me, which basically is a Pilates and yoga teacher. And it doesn't mean I'm not going to be a Pilates and yoga teacher, but there is something out there in the universe of what my story and where it's trying to lead me that's telling me that's the old version of you. You need to move away from it. And Neptune in Aries Neptune can be deception and illusion. And I have experienced that all in regards to that subject. So I won't tell you the details, but it's been disappointing and disillusionment for me last week. But I refused to go back to that old version of me that was depressed and felt like, what's the point last year, that lowest expression of myself. I refused to go there. I have this fire in my belly. And so I went to sleep that night having had this crappy news, and I was doing the work before I went to sleep, because in that moment where you're just about to fall asleep, and in that moment where you just wake up, when you feel safe, regulated, your nervous system is calm, when it can start to become familiar and to start to feel normal with different thoughts, with different actions that you take. So you have to take the action as well in small, consistent ways to start changing things, taking yourself into a different environment and feeling safe and familiar with that, speaking differently, saying different things, trying different outfits on and feeling safe and getting familiar with that, with those thoughts, with those beliefs. South Node in Virgo asking us to release perfectionism, control, releasing the fear of the unknown. Neptune is moving towards the dream, the wild spirit dreamers, the truth seekers, Sagittarius. Yep, the ideal of who you want to be. So let your imagination and inspiration help you to give you courage to step into your new identity. Pluto is transforming us all, the whole collective, the whole world. Where is it in your chart? Where is all this in your chart? Come and have a chart reading with me and I can help you tap into that. It's helping to dissolve outdated versions. Yeah. Awaken us to new perspectives, letting the old self die so the new self can be born. I sound like a stuck record. Girl, put your records on. Anyway, we need to use the adventurous spirit of Sagittarius, the courage of Aries, to lean into the discomfort, because that's where the growth is. So I will be explaining a lot more about all of these alignments tonight at my moon ceremony. So that is 8 p.m. UK time until 9:30, although we always go on to about 9:45 having a chat, and it's a really safe space there. It's a group of us who are all those who have been in exile, those outsiders who, we feel comfortable with each other. We're growing together. Just going to have a sip of my coffee. So something great that happened after the disillusionment this week. I have been planning 2 avenues for myself based on this purpose that I'm stepping into, this fire in my belly, and also the experience I have and the people that I already know and what I already know. So one of those is using astrology for business, because I've been a business owner for over 25 years. I know more business owners than not business owners. My circle I'm surrounded by solopreneurs, entrepreneurs. And so what happened is I had a conversation with somebody about doing astrology for business guidance, for putting our message out there, how we can message using Mercury, using Venus for branding, all different things like that. And I got a voice note the day after the disillusionment and the not so good news about that old version of me that I'm stepping away from. And I got a message about the new version that I'm stepping into. So I had a message from a wonderful business coach called Ivy. She's a business coach for creatives, and she wanted to book a session with me to look at how we can bridge her astrology with the mundane collective astrology and how we can use that in her business to get the messaging on point, to sort of steer and guide it with the forecast of everything. So she said to me, I want to book a session. I move really fast. I want to do it once a month. So when can you do it? So I literally did it the next day. I just dived in, didn't worry about any little niggly self-doubts that were coming up. Can I do this? I don't know. Yes, I can. And I went and did it. And it wasn't succinct. It took, we were there together for about 3 hours. So I know I need to narrow it down and be more concise with it. But I did it. So I stepped, I took a dive into the deep end and just see where it took me. And we're very excited about where this can go. So if you are a business owner and you would like to come and take a look at your chart, we can also do a chart for your business as well. So there is such a thing as a birth chart for your business. So if it's to do, you're wanting to have a rebrand, this new version of yourself, then we can look at that and keep your eye out, keep listening for this Wild Spirit Collective launch that's coming your way very, very soon. So I'm going to cut it off there. It's half an hour. Otherwise, I will just be waffling on. Just one question that I want to leave you with, just in case you don't get to join me at the moon ceremony, is I've just got this little question for you down here, because this is very Sagittarius orientated question. When was the last time you made a decision purely based on how much fun you would have? So I made the decision that I'm going to go off to City Space this afternoon purely based on how much fun I can have. Full moon, blue moon, blessings to you all. If you have any questions, please contact me. All the links to my socials, to the moon ceremony will be in the show notes. Gotta go because I need to get this out so you can listen to it. See you in 2 weeks' time.